All right, it is 6:30. Evie, would you please call the meeting to order? With a roll call, please.
Kara Kasten.
Here.
Katie Courtney.
Here.
Ken Dawson. Christopher Espinoza.
Here.
April Finnan.
Here.
Don Renner.
Here.
Michael Risky.
Here. Having a quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first item of business is the approval of minutes from the July 27, 2026 monthly business meeting. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Chris moves, April seconds.
Kara Kasten.
Aye.
Katie Courtney.
Aye.
Ken Dawson. Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
April Finnan.
Aye.
Mike Risky.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 4, reception of visitors, public comment. This is a portion of the agenda that includes 2 opportunities for comments from the audience. This is focused on items on tonight's agenda. Do we have any slips that pertain to tonight's agenda items?
We have slips, but nothing pertaining to the action items on tonight's agenda.
Okay. Item 5, student perspectives.
All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right, and since it's your first official one in your new seat, why don't
Yeah.
you once again introduce yourself to the board and then provide your update.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Olivia Tan, and I'm the student representative from Downers Grove North. The first couple of days of school went pretty smoothly. Firstly, the stricter phone usage rules were made very clear in classrooms by our teachers, which was good. There was a welcoming environment from the teachers and staff, with Dr. Dement and other staff members standing at the front door to welcome students as they came in, and teachers were standing in the hallways to make sure students could find their classes easily. The student parking pass distribution went very smoothly, and all the information regarding the parking areas was thoroughly relayed. The scanners were spotty this morning, but they were fixed in the later periods, which was great. However, the bell sound was muted or inaudible in some parts of the school, but hopefully that'll get fixed. Thank you. And about the Common App and essay workshop for seniors who are applying to college, I heard from a lot of people that it was a very helpful resource for them, although some said that the essay time slots were too short to do productive work, but overall very good. And lastly, the bathroom passes worked correctly today, but there was miscommunication with some teachers about students not being able to go to the bathroom at all in the first and last 10 minutes of class, when in reality they are allowed, but teachers need to give out written passes. So I spoke to Ms. Bartomas about that, the vice president of the teacher union, and she said that she would clarify that at the next teacher meeting. Thank you, that's all.
Hello, my name is Megan Walker. I'm the student representative for Downers Grove South. Like Olivia said, the first day went really well. Nothing really negative that happened. When we walked in, we were greeted by all the staff. Everyone said that they were so happy to be back. Everyone had a great summer. We had a couple videos we watched on the first day of school just to about rules, which was very helpful. Even for the senior class, I feel like there's a new bathroom policy, and it was just good to get everyone on the same page. The bus schedule went on track, everything like that. And all the teachers were enforcing the phone policy again, which was really good to just refresh and have everyone know that it's still a thing and still relevant. And today we got t-shirts, which I felt at lunch, it just made everyone have something to talk to, everyone got something to say. So I thought that was a nice thing for the second day of school. And we did not scan in on the first day of school, which I felt was very helpful just to get everyone in their classes. And then today, the scanning went so smooth because after we talked about it, everyone was scanning in. I never had security come to my classroom, so it was good. So yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, Hank and I walked the buildings this morning. As we talked about as board members wanting to set up a time to go in and see the scanning process, I did that this morning with Hank at South. It was great. As Megan described, I thought the scanning process went, super fluidly. Sat there and I sat by the side of one of the security personnel for about 5 minutes and just watched students come through in one of the entrances. I think the South administration did a really nice job because all of the drop-offs changed this year with using different entrances to sort of like divert traffic flow, so not everybody's coming in the same area. I thought that was well received. I'm sure there's going to be some kinks that need to be worked out. But it was also interesting, seeing the report of kids who have scanned into the building but didn't make it to the appropriate class, and look at that report in real time and then look at and see how security responds to that. So I thought that was really interesting, and I would encourage, all of you to kind of do the same thing at either of the campuses or both when you have time.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Running on the first day.
Yeah. We'll turn it over to Hank. Item 6, recommendations and reports of the superintendent.
All right, we have several board reports here this evening related to the strategic plan indicators. The first portion of this presentation is on grades, and I'm going to invite Keith and Jake up to give us that update.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jake Gibbel, and I'm the Associate Principal for Curriculum Instruction at Downers Grove South.
I'm Keith Pales. I'm the Associate Principal for Curriculum Instruction at North.
So what you're going to see is a short report from both of us on the primary kind of grade objective that the district has, which is all students earning C's or above in the classes that they take. And so I'll take you through the South slides here. What you're going to see is a pretty nice upward trend that we've had over the last few years. This slide represents all course grades just in particular. So, there's some 14,000 classes taken a year. This represents those for each semester. So any class taken last year during first semester, 93.71% of those grades were C or better in first semester, and right at about 93% second semester for those grades. The next slide is a slightly different look that we take, which is related to individual students in the building that have at least one D or F. What you're seeing is, in particular for 2026, first semester, 24.5% of the student body had at least one D or F. Second semester, just around 30%. And again, that is a trend downward from when we started tracking this data in 2023. We'd really like to thank, in particular at South, our Dean's team, Dr. Taylor, working with the Dean's team, and a small group of teachers. The students mentioned the phone policies and things like that, but they've put together a lot of good work in terms of making sure our halls are clear, students are in classes, and you're seeing that work in particular in that 2026 year trend downward.
So the numbers are similar for North when it comes to C's or better. So 96 in the second semester, and just a little bit over that where we were in 25 for semester 1. For the second piece there, we're trending in the same direction as South, so our percentages are going down there for students with D's. That's individual students with D's and F's. And the last slide that I'm going to talk about is actually this one. This is the second part of that goal. The first part is C's or better, and if a student is not getting a C or better, the expectation is that we are intervening in some way with those students. So you can see we are intervening on behalf of the students and reaching out. So I think a huge thank you needs to go out to all of our teachers on this, all of our counselors, all of our deans, anybody who comes in contact with a student academically to support them, to try and get them into class. That's how this happens. This is our people doing awesome work, reaching out and supporting our students.
So we're going to transition to Scott here in a second, I believe, right?
Yep.
But any questions for Jake and Keith on their slides? Okay.
How successful was the DNF intervention in getting those students off of that list and to achieving a C or better at the end of the semester of the school year?
I'm actually going to toss this to Jake because he really has done a lot of good work in tracking that and understands it really well.
So one of the things that we're looking at is trying to see, you know, when kids are intervened with. I think those are holes in our data, to be honest with you. It is difficult sometimes to see that part of it. One of the things we're doing right now, though, is sending, at all IPR times, very specific emails to families, this is both North and South, and to students who have D and F grades, in particular, single D and F, if we can, trying to move the needle with kids who are close. And with teacher office hours for the classes they're in, where the teacher, which particular periods they're off and what interventions are available during those periods. In particular, now both sides of town, we've moved to an academic resource center as opposed to a kind of spread out model with a math, a writing center, and a world language. We've got a single location like North has, trying to follow that pattern, bringing all the interventions in one space. What I saw, and I'm still looking in particular at last year's, pulling that apart. What I saw from the year before was that with single Ds and Fs, what we're really looking at is if we get to them early, we're successful at keeping them off. When those students show up a little bit later, it's more difficult towards the back end of the semester, which is not a surprise. The part that was eye-opening in that very specific type of data where you're looking at students who finished with only one D or F, most of those students at one point had multiple Ds and Fs. And so what you see are students who are trying to catch up and are successful in one class but can't quite do it in another. Or even they catch up in the ones that they were struggling in and then they fall back in a third. So really what we're trying to do is intervene as early as possible. That's where we seem to have the most success.
Great.
Any other questions for Keith or Jake?
The policy is to see that every student has the best opportunity to achieve. Could you touch upon, you know, teachers are still permitted the tools and the opportunities to give Ds and Fs for students who are just not passing the rigor of the exam, of the courses, correct? It's not as though we're encouraging our teachers to inflate grades so that our percentages are looking better. I just like for you to talk about that for a moment.
No, and Keith can speak to this at North very specifically, but we just met with freshmen and we just talked with staff. And we use the word students earn, right? It is their job to earn. It is our job to provide the opportunities for them to earn those grades. And when we talk to the incoming freshmen at the start of the day, Friday, their day, so, 10:30 or so, that's one of the things we stress, which is the teachers have office hours. Teachers will offer assistance. We have academic resource centers. We have guided studies. We have programs that are designed to help them if they're in trouble. But it is up to them to take advantage of those things that are available to them and the time that the people put forward for them. It is not about trying to just turn a D grade to a C just so it looks good. In fact, we discourage that completely. It is up to a teacher to make sure that the students have earned that grade. It's up to us to put in place the systems that allow students the best opportunity to do so.
And that's why we have the board goal structured the way it is, right? We want all of our students to get C or better, or we demonstrate that there's interventions and support that was provided, right? That we're doing everything in our power that we can control to make sure that a student is successful, but a teacher, an administrator, a support staff member, all the folks that are working with students, they don't control all the variables, right? Students are very much in control of their performance, so we control what we can. All right, moving forward.
All right, I'm going to speak to you about our intervention data and then talk about our four-year plan and then the senior survey from 2025. So on the first one, if you you can go forward twice. There you go. You probably remember this graphic. I like to just show it. I would like to thank Sarah Corrington and Kristen Borman at South, and our entire CSS team at South, and then also Erin Ludwig and Stephanie Andrews and our entire CSS team at North. They're the ones day in and day out, providing the interventions and supports to our students in all. This doesn't cover all the different areas, but you can see that there's a lot there that they're tackling and supporting students. And then obviously you'll see the data that we share with you. So in the next slide, thank you, Hank. What we did is we took every student from the 2025-26 school year, and then we looked to see if they had an intervention from our CSS staff. So that top number where you see the 90.28 for North, and then the South one where it says 90.01, that's 90% of our students have had interventions from our team. And remember, not every student needs an intervention, so this is really nice that we're still providing a lot of supports in many different areas like those bubbles we're showing you. But not everybody needs an intervention. And then the alpha threshold, I'll just remind you, the threshold is looking at the combination of student behaviors, attendance, and grades. And if a student kind of meets those thresholds in each of those, our team intervenes as an alpha team for problem solving, interventions, and monitoring. And you can see that we're at 100% for those students that we're intervening with for the school year. Is there questions on that before I jump to the 4-year plan? All right. So the 4-year plan, we are at 100% of our students do have a 4-year plan. We are tracking in School Links this 9th grade onboarding. So there's obviously a 3% improvement that we need to work on as we're moving forward this school year on the onboarding. I put a little piece of data in there about how many times students are accessing School Links. So it's 27,000 times last school year. And then our PACE framework is vital that our CSS staff is like their curriculum for supporting students, and that's what the little image is. So there's lessons that our CSS goes into access and delivers to our students for support. And then one of the things we're really excited about that the work has started actually this month is that we're aligning all our course codes in the district. So currently, each building has different course codes to represent our courses. We're gonna make a master course code, and the reason why that's really beneficial is that School Links operates on a master course schedule. And so we're gonna be able to enhance all the School Link features once this process is taking place. And that's set for not this school year, because we're doing the work to align the codes, and then it'll be in effect for next school year. So that's critical and essential, and we're excited about it.
Scott, can you tell us what School Links is?
Yeah, so it's School Links is a site that students can go into and do many different things about post-secondary opportunities. So they can do an assessment to learn about what their interests are post-secondary. It looks at both college and career. So there's many features to it. You can look up different colleges and put in different criteria. If I'm looking at a small school, I'm looking at, I want to be in a city. So there's many different things that that School Links help students. And then you can obviously, another piece is teachers can write reference letters and they can upload them into there. So it's kind of like that post-secondary system to help to bridge to college or to career.
Scott, could you refresh our memory real quick on what a 4-year plan is?
Yeah, so the 4-year plan follows kind of that PACE framework. So every year, our counselors are looking at the different pieces of so for example, you will enter the district and freshman year, you might do that assessment to learn about what are your interests as you're you might not know what you want to do post-secondary, but you want to learn about yourself. And then each year, they go through kind of a process and curriculum with our staff, with our students in terms of tapping into access and going through and meeting. The students get to meet with the counselors, and they get to go through kind of talking about, what do I want to do as I kind of navigate through. And that includes even talking about, if a student's looking, which I'll talk about in the senior survey, but if a student's looking to go to a certain school and they want to take some honors courses or AP courses, how does that align with their kind of their four-year plan in District 99. So that can happen, at any point in their 4 years with us. So that's kind of just a tip of the iceberg of the four-year plan for you. But it really does help sort of structure kind of what students ultimately are going to do when they leave District 99.
And a follow-up, how many check-ins do the students have yearly or semester?
Yeah,
What's your counselor on that? And
you guys might actually be able to help on that. I don't know the specific number, but I do know that the curriculum is pretty extensive, and so the counselors have blocks and blocks of time that they come into Access to work with the students pretty frequently.
So do we have any sort of annual recap to hold, the students accountable and on track to achieve goals that they set out in their 4-year
Yeah,
plan?
I mean, they do, so when they do their work in the actual Access, then each year when they're registering for courses for the following year, all students meet individually with their counselor. And so that's an opportunity to go over their 4-year plan, to talk about what are you going to be doing post-secondary, and aligning like their interests with their courses. And it's, this district is awesome that we've created so many opportunities for students in many different areas while they're in school, to, even with TCD and then our internal, courses, so.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. And then the senior survey, I'm just going to give you you can go one more, actually, Hank, thank you. So what we did is we kind of crunched the 2025 graduates. We'll be crunching the 2026 graduates coming this fall in September. And then we'll be able to do some comparisons of what our 25 seniors said compared to the 26 seniors. But there's a lot of positive pieces that the 2025 seniors highlighted for us. For example, they talked about the college planning. Obviously, that's a pretty strong number of 81% felt it was very valuable. Career and trade planning was at 74% of the positive supports that they felt. The AP and dual enrollment was interesting because the students were talking about that, not only taking an AP course, but they're really excited about how that will help them with college to offset tuition costs and things like that. And 76% kind of spoke to that. And then what I also was really proud of too is that the most utilized academic resources was a question that we asked our seniors of, from 2025, and they talked about the teacher office hours and the math resource. So to me, that's a strong credit to our staff, offering those teacher office hours, and students, from that senior class, because that's who it's from, reporting that that was a strong thing for them. And then in the next slide, a little bit more, talked about 91% of academic support. So the teachers or students were reporting, about how the teachers are actively invested in them. And I think that's a huge, strong number. Also the 88% about safety and well-being from our staff. And then again, just to kind of give kudos and compliments to our activities and athletics, you can see that our seniors felt pretty positive about their experiences. Those that were in those events, reported positive results from it for them. So the next slide kind of talks about our next steps. So obviously we're giving you the 2025 data. Our team has seen that, but we're going to go through and look at 26 and 25 kind of together. We've already kind of identified that we want to explore the career and trade planning was at that 74%. Not a bad result, but we kind of want to dig in a little bit there to see if there's something we could do to raise that up a little bit. Just remember that this survey sent out to our seniors who already graduated, or they're in May of their graduation year. And we don't control technically what they put on there. So the first thing that I was trying to look for is like, okay, why did they say 74% rather than like say 80? And when we dug into the individual results, it's up to the student to kind of put that if they want to. So we're trying to look at ways to prompt them to give us a little bit more feedback. And then I thought it was really fascinating that the seniors reported that they wanted more advanced technology literacy skills. I guess in a day of AI and different things, that's probably makes sense. I know my son is a sophomore at the University of Illinois in computer science, and they're heavily kind of structuring their stuff around using Claude and things like that. So obviously it's out there, we need to prepare for it, and we have a committee that's working collectively with staff on that committee. So we're excited about that. And then again, we'll review our 2026 data, and we're gonna be doing that in September. And then I put the one-click admit because that was a new initiative by the state where students can apply to public schools in Illinois without writing an essay. They don't have to, they can just literally fill out the one-click application and they'll be admitted into the school. Excuse me. I do believe that the University of Illinois and the University of Illinois at Chicago is not participating in the one-click, but the other public schools are. So that's an exciting thing for our students because they go all over Illinois to school, and it honestly makes their process a little easier to just get admitted into school. So we're excited about that. So we're going to work on plans of future. I mean, we've already communicated things, but we're going to work on how we continue to keep that out there for students.
I sit on the statewide superintendent advisory committee for the one-click college admit, and last year kind of rolled out just as the school year was starting, so they were kind of building the ship as they were flying it, or the plane as they were flying it. So there was a lot of meetings this summer about how to better communicate that going into this school year, and I think there was still a good use of it last year for getting it up off the ground, but I think at this next year across the state, you're going to see a huge increase in students taking advantage of that. Some of the goals were accomplished in the fact that students of low income were disproportionately benefited, or those that benefited through that program this year. So excited to see where that might take some of our students in the future that might not think that they are ready to go to college, and then they find out that, oh, you have an offer waiting, you just have to accept. So a good direction we're headed in there.
Any questions about the four-year plan, the senior survey?
Are other states going to a one-click process like that?
There's other schools that are, yeah. Wisconsin went there a few years ago. And many of our students in Illinois felt the pressure that wanted to go to Wisconsin schools by getting waitlisted as they waited for the students in the state of Wisconsin to get accepted before they would allow out-of-state applicants. So it's almost like a two-phase process up in Wisconsin. There's others that work the same way, but that's the one closest to us that our students feel the impact of.
Does one click mean like immediate response almost?
No.
What does it mean?
So it's one click to enter into kind of the portal, and then we upload a student's, it authorizes us the ability to upload all of the transcript information, and based on GPAs primarily, the universities in the Illinois system evaluate if a student meets their threshold for everyone except for University of Illinois and University of Illinois Champaign, or Chicago. They all get one click, and then it's one click to accept, and it goes through the Common App, and it starts the whole process to go in to start that next admission process. For the University of Illinois programs, they don't get a one-click admit, but they get an invite if they meet the criteria and they're invited to apply. But they have a different application process and are exempted from the one-click admit.
Is this entirely outside of like early admission process and all of that?
It's its own process with the Illinois public universities.
When are the applications typically due? Like I know like November or October generally when?
They enter in the spring of their junior year.
Junior year?
Yeah, is when they enter into the portal, and then I think it's somewhere in the end of August here, they will be informed of which schools they qualify for.
Before their senior year starts?
Yeah, well, as their senior year is starting, yeah.
That's nice.
And do schools choose that they want to participate in one click, or is it just set up they have to do on their
Students
end?
have to opt into it, because then their information is shared with the universities.
Okay.
All
Thanks
right.
for the report.
All right, end of year financial report. I'll turn this over to Jeree, and we'll start with some of the pressures we faced last year.
All right, good evening. Yes, we did face a few pressures throughout the year, as you see them stated up there on the screen. Early on last year, we learned that the state was going to prorate the transportation reimbursement more than what we had expected, and that was around $400,000. We also had a state grant that has been delayed. We received word May of '25 that if we purchased our electric driver's ed vehicles, that we would be eligible for $300,000 in state grant for part of like an energy project, but that's been delayed. Our self-funded insurance plan, the costs for that have been quite significant over the past couple of years, and that was an increase of about $350,000 more than what we had anticipated. We had a few additional repairs at North last year. And then we had an increase in the amount of unpaid school fees, in the amount about $500,000, which is significantly more than what we've ever seen in the past. So we've looked to see what we can do differently. All right, so as is noted up there, we ended the year with about $200,000. We're lower than what we had actually thought at the beginning of the year. So that's not too bad compared looking at all of the pressures that we had throughout the year. We had planned to spend down the reserves last year. We front-loaded the teacher's contract, so we had anticipated about $1 million decrease in our funding. And we were just about, as you can see, we went from about $9 million fund balances down to about $7.6 million. We were right really on target. Any questions on that portion?
Backtrack 1 second.
Sure.
Unpaid school fees for $500,000. What type of, what makes that up?
Those are the typical registration fees and participation fees.
And lunch fees.
No, that does not cover the
No,
lunch.
that doesn't cover lunch fees. That's a different one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if students are delinquent in fees, can they participate in the following year in activities?
Yes.
What do we do about collections?
We turn them over to collections once they owe $300 at the end of the school year.
Are there any schools that prohibit participation in activities?
Really are prohibited from prohibiting.
Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So every school district in the state, there was actually a thread of superintendents talking about the same thing today, and we're pretty much doing what the schools out there that are trying to recapture these fees are doing.
So there's no teeth. We have no
No.
authority, really.
No, except to send them to collections. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there programs available for low-income families?
Mhm. Yes. And for any family could enter into a payment plan with us as well.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
And do we have any feedback? Like, do we think it's people being laid off from work, or do we, like, this is an anomaly, it sounds like, compared to past years? Like, do we?
It is.
I know it's early, but not yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the largest amount that I have seen since I've been here.
We're not hearing from families on, I know I'm behind, but, yeah.
When families reach out to us, we work with them. Yeah.
And we contact families on a monthly basis.
Yeah, nobody's surprised by this.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so on expenditures, our salary and benefits came in just as expected, like they typically do. The purchase services were just a little bit higher than what we had planned on, and it was primarily due to the professional services due to the facility repairs. Supplies came in a little bit lower than what we had anticipated, and that was primarily due to the utility cost coming in lower. than what we had projected. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, our self-funded health insurance costs were higher than what we had planned. That would just be in the benefits line item. It doesn't look like it's that much higher, but we had, budgeted a little bit a higher amount last year than what we normally had, and that helped us cover what that overage was. So despite several things that we talked about, our expenditures came in pretty much on target. Revenues. So there's a couple of things we just want to point out, like we mentioned earlier on the revenue side, and that was that we had $800,000 in revenue that was delayed. Perhaps we didn't mention the TIF surplus on that other slide. So we had planned on receiving about $500,000 in our TIF surplus, but it was delayed until this year, 26-27 school year, and then the state grant of $300,000. So $800,000 in revenues that we had anticipated coming in, it did not come in, and those were just delayed. Our interest income was a little bit lower than what we had anticipated. Interest rates had dropped some throughout the year, so our earnings were not as high as what they had been in the previous years. And then we had mentioned on the local revenue side, that was basically due to the TIP surplus, the school fees. Yes. Mm-hmm. So overall, we mentioned earlier, we're within $200,000 for our projection from the previous year, so relatively in a pretty good position, given all the different pressures that we faced.
All right, questions for Dree on the year-end financials?
Just a quick recap. Yeah, this is remarkable. Faced with the contingencies and the pressures we faced, I think to be within that close to budget, so that's remarkable. A thank you to your team and everyone. Thank you for being responsible, mindful, making resourceful decisions, saving us from having to make more difficult ones. So yeah, I think that's great. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, everybody chipped in, and as the year went on and we saw some of these pressures, people had to make some tough decisions of pulling back here, there, putting things off, and everybody did. Everybody worked together to make it work.
Just one other question on the state funding. You said it was delayed. Is that like the state changed its mind and it's going to something else, or is it still
Supposedly it's coming.
coming?
Supposedly.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that with next year's budget in a second.
We've been told it moved from one office to the next office. So we're hopeful.
Well, we're hopeful for this part. There's another part.
Yes.
We're not hedging our bets on this year, so, and we'll get into that with the tentative budget.
Okay, so we'll move on to the budget. All right. Well, I use the word conservative too. I see you've put the word up there, conservative. I do believe that we've put together a conservative and realistic budget for next year. As you'll see, we're anticipating about $123.6 million in revenues, and then very close to the same amount in expenditures. However, we're projecting that we're going to spend about $101.2 million in our fund balance throughout the year. And there's a few reasons why we're projecting that. As you can see, we are anticipating that we're going to have less grant revenue, both state and federal, next year. We anticipate that our health insurance costs are going to go up significantly more than even last year. And then we also, we pay for our technology lease payments and then the new debt certificates out of operating funds instead of increasing the tax levy, which would go straight onto the taxpayer. So we use existing operating funds for that.
So over the course of the year, it's a conservative budget. We believe that $450,000 state revenue, it was supposed to show up last year. We're hoping it shows up this year, but we're not counting on it. Where last year, we kind of counted on it in the budget and it never showed up. So 450,000 of that 1.2 million is accounted for, and if things work the way they're supposed to, it will show up, and that would immediately reduce that budget number by a large amount. I think we demonstrated through responsible management that making up the rest of that over the course of next year is realistic, but we always want to present the worst-case scenario to the board when we bring a budget. And I'll remind the board, our 5-year financial plan has us in large surpluses in the next 3 years due to that front-loaded teacher's contract. So we'll have an opportunity over the next 3 years to build that fund balance back up.
And even at 5%, we're still above what our policy would require.
Yeah, the policy and the threshold is 3. And 10 years ago, we were at that 3. So we've built it up over the years. We've spent it down strategically as a result of priorities that we wanted to meet, and then we'll build it back up over the next few years.
So, just to confirm, so some of those delays that were talked about earlier, maybe that's what you were just saying, Hank, some of those delays are not being built into this budget, like, okay, so that.
Right, last year we built in the 300 thinking it was coming, and we believe that will show up this year.
Sure, so
that 300.
thereby offsetting some of the, okay. So
Yeah,
it's-
we're supposed to receive another 450,000 in grants from the state. This year, we're choosing not to build that in to the budget because it's conservative.
Yeah.
Assuming that it won't show up. It's highly likely that it will, but we're not gonna put it there until the check shows up.
So just to clarify, the 300,000 is included in the budget?
Yeah.
That, because we feel confident that that
Yeah.
is going to be coming in, but the 450,000 is not, right, included? Okay, so on the revenues. So on the revenue side, property taxes continue to be our largest and most stable revenue source. There are a few other revenue areas that I think are important to highlight. We just talked about the one. We had anticipated receiving the $450,000 from the state this year, but for now, it is not in the budget. It was in our projection from last year, or what we thought this budget would be like for this year. So we've taken that conservative approach and we've just removed it from the budget. Another item is in the state funding. Transportation funding is another area that we will continue to watch. We haven't heard the final word yet as to what the proration amount is going to be from the state at this point. We factor that into what we anticipate the state aid will be for next year. And then on the federal revenue side, as you can see, there's an increase of a little over $500,000 over what it was from last year. And that is just, there is just less available federal funds for the district.
So in District 99, the only funding source that we can truly rely on is our local taxpayers that really support us greatly, and we greatly appreciate the consistency of that for maintaining the quality of our services for the district. Right now, at the state and federal level, we are being pinched from multiple directions. I'd say it's more than pinching, I guess. They're being slashed from multiple directions. So we keep a close eye on that. And as Dree said, some of these figures, like replacement taxes, proration on about 6 different state areas, we won't learn about confidently for the next couple of weeks.
Well, yeah, and the state released the replacement tax figure last week and they listed ours as 1.6 million, but last year they listed an amount and it was $300,000 less than what we had anticipated, as you can see up there, from last fiscal year. So we chose not to increase the budget. We left it at what we're anticipating of 1.3. So it'd be great if it does actually come in at 1.6.
How did you budget the student fees this year, given the anomaly from last year?
I didn't knock it down that low, because I really feel that, I think that some of the issue is related to the timing of when the fees were assessed last year, which was later than they normally are. And we think that some families were just totally surprised that they still owe money. So I anticipate we're going to collect some of the money that was due to us from last year.
Okay.
So just to understand some of the other the local revenues, is that like facility rentals, and what are local revenues?
Sure, that's, one thing is $500,000 in the TIF surplus that the village has said that we will be receiving this year.
This is the Woodridge?
Downers Grove.
Different one,
Downers
okay,
Grove,
all
yeah.
right.
E-rate, school fees, rentals, athletic admissions, things like that.
Okay.
Any other questions on revenues? All right, expenditures?
Okay, well, as typical, our expenditures, the largest ones are the salaries and the benefits, and these costs are based upon current staffing levels and collective bargaining agreements and known compensation changes, so we feel pretty confident on those budget amounts. There's a few areas that I'll highlight. Once again, we did increase the health insurance premiums amount. As you can see, we're showing an increase of about 10% there. That's what we are anticipating for a 6-month, basically, increase, because our plan runs January through December. So we anticipate our health insurance premiums going up higher than that overall. Another area is the student transportation costs. That area continues to be a pressure point, basically because there's various factors that affect that throughout the year. You know, the number of students who qualify for McKinney-Vento services we can see an increase. The number of students that require special transportation can be an increase. So we do our best to budget that amount, but it's always an area that we do monitor. And then with facility costs, you know, as we mentioned last year, we had some unexpected facility costs. We think that we've covered everything for this year. We had a lot of projects that went on this summer, but still, that's always an area with, you know, some older buildings that we could have some unanticipated cost in that area. I think that's it for the expenditures. Any questions on? So overall, I believe that this is a pretty sound and realistic budget for us. Like we mentioned, we do anticipate with these budget figures at this time, based upon the information that we have, that we're projecting that we're going to spend down some of that fund balance. But hopefully, we're going to see a better picture at the end of the year.
All right, any other questions for Jeree? Reminder tonight, the board just approves to put the budget on display and set a hearing as a part of your action items. You're not actually approving the finalized budget. As things adjust over the next few weeks and some of that information comes in, we may come to you with revisions before you actually approve it next month.
Thanks, Jeree.
All right, a couple of other things that just come up every year at this time. There's an official approval of the concussion oversight team that's listed in the memos and approved by the board each year, as well as the crisis de-escalation and physical management oversight team is an annual report of those two teams. Scott brings both of those together in his memos. Are there any questions on either of those two items? Okay. Grant allocation report. Each year, we come to you and present what we believe we're receiving in federal grants in this next year based on what we know at this point in time. It kind of pairs up with the budget report. Kate is here to report on those grant programs.
Good evening. Ooh, that's very loud. So as Jerry mentioned earlier, we have seen some changes to our grant funding from last year, most prominently in our Title I grant allocation. So this year, we received $185,000 less in Title I. So although we have shifted some expenditures to local funds and we've worked with finance on that, we have a zero loss of student supports and programming through our targeted efficiency measures. So we are really proud of that. We also received about $11,000 less in Title II, but to align with the new allocations, we are shifting focus to internal talent, local and virtual workshops, and reduced out-of-state travel and external consultants. So this allows for us to continue with our robust professional development while staying with the lower allocation. I have to give a huge shout out to Director Kelly Zerner because she has worked really hard with her team on shifting our PD plan. We received additional money in Title III in our language instructional educational program, just under $6,000 additional, and that will be allocated directly towards instructional supplies and student support programs. We are still waiting for our Title III IMSEP grant allocations. Those have not yet been released. Title IV basically stayed the same, so we are staying with our allocations from last year. And then our CTE grants, Perkins is pretty much the same, but we did receive over $13 less this year in our CTEI grant. So we have been working hard with both South and North CTE departments on where we can streamline supply budgets.
Question on any of the federal grant numbers?
Is this a trend we're likely to see? Continuing decreases in federal funding, or again, an anomaly?
So it's always hard to tell.
Okay.
Sometimes up, sometimes down. Right now, it appears to be down.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Updates on summer projects.
That is me.
All right, Amanda.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I jumped past my report. So my report on the district goals update. Sorry, Amanda was like, what? The board has received all of these. This is just informing the board that this is what's been published to the public website on each of the areas of the strategic plan. The board's received all of these updates as the year has gone on, but if you go to the website and go to strategic plan, you'll see each of these updates listed there. So this is just an FYI for the board that we give every year at this point, that the year's updates from the prior year have been updated, and we're turning our focus to the next school year. So if at any point a board member has a question on any of those pieces, or anybody in the community does, happy to address those moving forward. Now, here we go. Summer projects update.
Thanks. So since I walked in the door on July 1st, I've been attending meetings on a weekly basis with both White and Honeywell to keep track of all the projects I'm about to talk to you about. So this slide deck is divided up into three different areas: the items that are finished, the items that are about to be finished, and then the items that are going to be ongoing. So next slide, please. All right, so these are all the things that were ready for day one. One of the things that came through with health, life, safety was asbestos removal and replacement. A substantial amount of that work was being done at North with mold remediation in the auditorium. That has all been finished, painted, ready to go. Intercoms, we replaced all the intercoms in both buildings. We did know that that was literally going to go up to the wire to being finished, and it was. And as the students spoke, there have been some slight glitches that we're working through, but they are actively working. LED lighting, which was done through Honeywell and is part of our energy savings program. The LED lighting that was put in at T99 and then here, that is completely finished. It is not at South and North, and I'll talk more about that in the coming slides. And with all of the things that I am talking about through here, because we're going to move on to look at some pictures too, please note that all the classrooms in both buildings are completely accessible. There's nothing blocked off from being used, so students are in their classrooms learning. So on the next slide, we will have the pictures of our beautiful new field houses. These are ready to go. Cheerleading is already has been accessing the field house at North. I walked through the field house at South today, and they had a PE class in there. There is a slight striping issue that we are working through with Kiefer, the vendor that we used for that, but they are fully usable and they look very, very nice. We had window installation at the forest entry at Downers Grove North. So this was also health, life, safety. These windows were 40 years old. They were off level, so as a result, they were leaking air and water. As we began to remove those, we realized that the caulk that was seal and holding them together was hot. It had asbestos in it, so we had to do a whole remediation with that. But at this point, all those windows are finished and replaced. And then finally, there was HVAC work that were actually done on both buildings while you're just seeing South here. This was also health, life, safety. The old ones had old refrigerators that were not up to the appropriate environmental standards, so those needed to be replaced. Okay, now we're on to active work that is ongoing but close to being finished. So as far as the cameras go, we have all the cameras installed, but we're still currently switching over from our old cameras to our new cameras in some situations. So at Downers Grove North, 85% of all the new cameras are being used. That other 15%, we're still accessing the old cameras. What I mean to say by that is there's not an area that we don't have video on. Everything is still safe. We can see everything. We're just making those transition from the old to the new. At Downers Grove South, it is at 60%, and that work will continue. And then these cameras essentially have better angles, better resolution, and long-term support for both of the schools. Next, you can see our beautiful new tennis court at South. It is actually that bright blue. The work that still needs to be done with this, though, is because it basically got lifted when they basically laid it down, so we now have to kind of affix the cement surrounding it to the tennis court so there's no lips, there's no tripping hazards. So we're doing some cement work around the tennis courts. My favorite topic. Okay, pools. All right, so at North, essentially they went in to do work, and what was unveiled to us is that there was structural steel deterioration. And once they found out, they were seeing concrete failure and leaks. And basically just before I walked into the door, I think it was about at the beginning of June, they realized they were gonna have to do more work on the pool at North. So that is what has basically led to the fact that the pool at North has not been able to be open on time for the school year. With everything that is being done right now, we've already laid the concrete. It has to cure for 3 days, and then taking the pools takes a substantial amount of time just due to the amount of gallons that have to be put in there. So the goal right now is to open up post Labor Day. And so while I'm on talking about the pool at North, I'll address kind of what's going on at South too. We are having issues with the drain covers that are currently placed on top of those, so we're kind of going between DuPage County Health and our vendor Aquapure to figure out what that solution is. I'm waiting to hear back from them. We're hoping for the quick solution, but there could be an extended solution that could take longer. Needless to say, throughout all of this work with the pools, just in my 1 month here, we're continuing to see that this is a very challenging area, and it's just it continues to be a major capital issue. So in stating that, I've also been working with Mike and Michelle, the building managers, to look at more long-term planning around the pools, so we kind of know what this is gonna cost long-term, and engaging a pool consultant in doing that, so we can see long-term what it is going to cost to keep these pools open and functioning for our students. Next, we have the boiler work that has happened at North. So first, Health, Life, Safety pointed out that we needed to address the actual boiler house. That is completely done. But then through our work with Honeywell, they brought in a brand new boiler, which just to continue to conserve energy. All of that work is only about 20% done. What we do know is while that work is going to continue, it will never impact student learning. We've been promised that. And the goal is to get it all up and running before we need to turn the heat on, which usually happens for the first time in the month of October. So a lot of this work that is going to extend into the coming months, that Columbus Day weekend is really going to be targeted for stuff that they're going to just need to be able to work on that could potentially be loud in an extended fashion. All right, and then back to the LED lighting, now talking about north and south. So this is ongoing. At north, the work will begin in about 4 to 6 weeks. At DGS, it is about 85% finished. But now that we have teachers back in the building, we're starting to see issues with the dimmer switches. So we've already reached out to Honeywell to address that, to alleviate that. It's supposed to save us energy. We don't want the lights staying on, so trying to fix all that. Okay, this is the work that is going to continue well into the fall. As far as doors, at south and north, at south we have 5 doors that still need to replace, and at north we have 2. Those were just essentially due to the hardware that is on the doors, it wasn't allowing for egress, so those still need to be replaced. For bleacher adjustments, this is a north situation. The wood that is in the bleachers did not allow for accessible seating, so that work is also targeted for October. I've already discussed the pool at south with you. Water conservation, that's going to continue to go on. That has to do with toilets and lower flow for flushing to conserve energy. And then moving to handrail replacements. These are being done one for one, so as one is taken off, another is put on. So there's never an area that is absence of a rail. Again, no safety issues. Basically due to the new standards, many of these had to be lifted up, so that's why they're being replaced, and that work is still going on. And then finally, the solar panels. So before we could even begin to do the actual installation of the solar panels, we had to make sure our roofs were in working order to be able to support those solar panels. So roof replacement, we're at about 95% finished, so that's great. From there, we will then segue into the design and engineering phase, and then eventually the installation of our solar panels. So that will definitely go into October. And then finally, again, just with all this ongoing work, I think the big thing to understand is this is non-disruptive to the learning environment. It's not affecting our students from doing their day-to-day when they're in the building. And I've told everybody, if there is an issue, please come to me about it, because we don't want that being disrupted. And then anything that does need to still continue, it's happening either after school hours or again into October, really targeting that Columbus Day weekend for some more extended work.
When you say learning is not being interrupted at south with regard to the pool, how is that?
So by non-disruptive, I mean like there's not noise causing them not being able to learn. To your point though, yes, our kids cannot swim right now at south or north. So the PE teachers were made aware that that was likely going to happen, so they could plan in advance. And then our swim teams are actually accessing a pool in Westmont so that they can continue to hold practices.
The FMSC?
Yes. Yes.
Is the FMSC being used both south and north, or
Yes.
just north?
It is being used by both right now. But again, hopefully North will, this is going to be kind of a 2-week situation for them, and assuming everything continues to go as planned, those pools will be filled, and when we come back from Labor Day, they'll be able to re-engage using the pool at North.
And you'll move south swimming to north in the interim, is that what you're saying?
I would, given past practice, I could see that happening, yes.
Know more when we hear what the status of south is.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're hoping to get, I'm literally waiting on communication right now. Yeah.
With regards to the tennis courts, do
Yes.
we have any idea as to when that work will be completed and the courts reopened or opened?
So the courts are actually being used, but we still just have to get that cement fixed. I have to look back at the timeline for that, because we just got the quote recently, but I can find that out for you.
But in the interim, they can use the courts?
Yes, I've seen the tennis team out there.
Great, great.
Just not finalized yet. Usable, but not, project's not done.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Amanda. Welcome to your new job.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's drinking from the fire hose.
Yeah,
right now.
every day.
All right, the next topic, this comes to the board every year at the start of the year. These are the variety of different leadership events that I participate in. It's a board expectation that I do these things, so I'm reporting to you that I am doing these things. The first is an expectation that I take on a variety of leadership positions. One of the things I have noticed is the more time you serve as a superintendent, the more you get tapped for leadership positions. You can see I have a wide radius of things that I'm involved in at the local, state, and national level, both high school, higher education, statewide education. So I sit in a variety of different spots. Many of these align with board goals, things like advancing dual credit, and those kinds of things. So questions on any of the leadership positions up there? Many of those are returning from last year. And then the professional learning opportunities, you can see them indicated there. Many of them, because of my leadership roles, I attend these opportunities at no cost to the district. In many of them, I am a presenter or a facilitator as well, which is also an expectation of the board. So this is the plan for this year. Specific details have been provided to the board in your report. Are there any questions on any of these? And of course, at some point in the year, I'll report back on my big picture takeaways and activities in these things as well. All right. Final thing is Freedom of Information reports. We regularly receive these, many of these through AI nowadays, and they are filled as we are required to and posted online. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, item 7, the consent agenda. Before the board votes on the consent agenda, is there any agenda item a board member would like to pull out of the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes item A, personnel report appointment classified, transfer of position classified, contract adjustments certified. Item B, personnel report resignations classified. Item C, June treasurer's report and July financial pages. Item D, 2026-27 concussion oversight team. And item E, 2026-27 crisis de-escalation and physical management oversight team. Chris moves, Ken seconds.
Kara Kasten,
Aye.
Katie Courtney,
Aye.
Ken Dawson,
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza,
Aye.
April Finnan,
Aye.
Michael Risky,
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 8, recommendations for action. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to accept the tentative budget for the 2026-27 fiscal year and establish 6:30 p.m. September 21st, 2026 for the public hearing to be held at the ASC 6301 Springside Avenue in Downers Grove, Illinois?
So moved. Second.
Ken moves, Mike seconds.
Kara Kasten,
Aye.
Katie Courtney,
Aye.
Ken Dawson,
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza,
Aye.
April Finnan,
Aye.
Michael Risky,
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Item 9, any old business? And item 10, any new business?
No new business.
Okay, item 11, second reception of visitors. This is for members of the public to comment on any items, does not have to be limited to the items of the agenda. Do we have any slips for tonight?
We have 2.
Okay.
The first one is Jim Wool. Jim, once you get started, I'll start your timer.
Good evening. My name's Jim Wool. Receiving my property tax statement, I was surprised by the increase in the amount I had to pay. Looking over the statement, one item caught my attention, the District 99 pension fund. I thought that was odd because teachers contribute to their pension through TRS and support staff contribute to their pension through IMRF. I called DuPage County about the District 99 pension fund. The county told me to call District 99. When I called the administrative center, there was no option to talk to a person. I sent an email to the district office. I received no response. Remembering that board member Kasten ran on the campaign of promising to improve communication with the community, I emailed her. I received no response. I emailed her a second time, same result. I emailed her a third time with a FOIA attachment, And again, no response. I guess after 3 years of serving on the board, you're still working on that campaign promise. Another campaign promise that you ran on, Kara, was improving educational excellence. You said that you wanted to get to the root causes of declining test scores in District 99. The district now spends $26,000 a year to educate a student. That cost represents an increase of 60% since 2010. With the money that this district spends on education, you would think the test scores would be well above average. You would be wrong. Only 43% of District 99 students are reading at grade level, and only 45% of District 99 students are performing math at grade level. All of this information comes directly from ISBE, the Illinois State Board of Education. All of the current board members ran on the platform of returning fiscal responsibility to the district. In 2010, both schools had 2 associate principals. Today, despite a drop in enrollment by 11%, both schools now have 4 associate principals. You have a declining student enrollment, yet you added 2 additional leadership positions at each school. This defies common sense. And I do not have time to go into how many new leadership positions were created at the district level, again, despite 11% drop in student enrollment. Hank, under your stewardship and the stewardship of this current school board, this district is witnessing plunging test scores, standardized test scores, fiscal irresponsibility, and, as demonstrated by Board Member Caston, a willful disregard for the community. Truly, the stench of this board's arrogance and Hank's is palpable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next visitor is Lisa Schmidt.
Hello.
Let me just tell you a little bit about myself, my family, and what we've got going on. My name is Lisa, and my husband's name is Eric, and we are parents to 3 DGS students. My oldest son, Blake, just graduated in the spring, and he's off to college. And then I have twins, Max and Spencer, and they are sophomores. And the reason I'm here today is I want to request an allowance to allow Max and Spencer, my twins, to head on over to Hinsdale South. And the reason is DGS is 4.5 miles from our house, and Hinsdale South is less than 1 mile from our house. And currently, Max and Spencer have graduated from Eisenhower Junior High School. And our town, Darien, is split, with some of the kids going over here to DGS and some of them going over there to Hinsdale South. And currently, my family is in a little bit of a crisis, with my husband having a serious health issue. He has had cancer, and he's not doing very well, and my kids are not tolerating it very well. And for right now, because Blake graduated, Max and Spencer are here at the school by themselves. And usually my husband drives them or picks them up from school if they have an issue. But he won't be able to do that for much longer. It would just be easier for our whole family if these kids were allowed to go to Hinsdale South. I'm skipping a little bit, and I know I've emailed a bunch of you already. But what I want is an allowance to have these kids be allowed to transfer to Hinsdale South. And I talked to the Darien Town Hall, and they said to come here tonight and talk to the board about an allowance that would let them transfer over to Hinsdale South. And I'm skipping a whole bunch of details, but basically that's my story. And so I hope you will consider allowing these two boys to transfer to Hinsdale South.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 12, communications and announcements. Kara, can I get a report? I'm sorry? Oh, Kara, can I get a report on Len, please?
Sure. Okay. So, we have our next meeting coming up in September, which is our in-person meeting with a lot of the state legislators. I know there was work this summer. I did not make our August meeting due to a conflict, but I know a current topic that Hank is leading the charge is the is the proposed bailout of CPS that is affecting some of the other DuPage districts, obviously is affecting statewide. So that is a topic being discussed, but I missed the last meeting, and we had an executive committee meeting, but we didn't meet over the summer. And our next meeting is the end of September, and I'll report out on that unless you have.
Yeah, the mandates and committee met last week. We were supposed to host it, but we had
we had the tornado.
We had a tornado show up. So they hosted on Zoom, and I am going to get an update tomorrow on what happened in that meeting. But some of the other things we're focused in on, obviously unfunded state mandates and reductions in state funding, the changes in the world language requirements that we don't believe are sustainable as well. And then I'll get the update tomorrow on what else was discussed.
Chris, any updates on SACID?
Not yet. Our last meeting was May, and I have another one on the 26th of August.
Okay. April and Katie, anything to report on the foundation?
Nothing over the summer. We're meeting on Wednesday.
Okay. Ken, anything to report on IASB?
Our DuPage division meeting date has been set as October 29th.
Mm-hmm.
The topic for ours has not been chosen as of yet. I'll keep you updated as that develops.
Okay. I have nothing to report about the Downers Grove Village Council, but maybe I will next time. Anything to report on the Downers, and I also have nothing to report on the Downers Grove Plan Commission at this point in time. Okay. Our upcoming board meetings, next meeting will be September 14th, 2026 here at the ASC at 6:30 p.m. for a workshop meeting, followed by a monthly business meeting and on September 21st, again here at the ASC at 6:30 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Gabriel moves, Ken seconds. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.